What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another great video. Welcome back to my garage. We're actually going to be changing it up just slightly today. We're going to be doing a little experiment. As you guys can see in front of you here, I have 3 different types of fuel, specifically 2 gasolines and 1 E85. Reasons for today's video, reasons for testing out these 3 different fuels here is because if you guys have actually followed me on Instagram here, you'll see I've just received a Christmas present from my wife, one that I've been excited for, one that I've been waiting for, which is an ethanol content sensor for my EcoBeast outside. Reasons for needing an ethanol content sensor is because I actually recently purchased a E30 tune for the truck, which is really going to open her up, give her a lot more power, allow for a lot more timing, and really help it stand up to its name of EcoBeast. But first things first, guys, with any ethanol blend tune or a full E85 tune, if you guys have that, one thing you want to make sure is know your fuel. Reasons being is because gasoline has a variation of ethanol content within it. It could be anywhere from 0 to 10% in some cases. And same thing on the E85 side. You may be purchasing E85 on the little nozzle there, but it may not actually be 85% ethanol. It could be anywhere down to 70 or even lower in some cases. So you want to make sure you know the ethanol content of your fuels so you can make sure you have the correct calculations. For example, in my case, an E30 tune. So today, guys, to test the ethanol contents within these 3 fuels I have in front of me here, which is a cheap gasoline that's in my area, as well as one of the top of the line gasolines that I have in my area, and then the one source of E85 that I have within my general region. We're going to be using the Fuel It ethanol test kit here. You can actually purchase this guy off of Amazon, eBay, directly from them, pretty much anywhere you can find it, as well as you can find a whole bunch more ethanol test kits. I really went with this one because it was one of the first ones I saw, and one thing I saw that stood out to me was that this is a glass kit with laser etched markings. And since we're going to be dealing with fuels, I didn't want to have to worry about markings or labels falling off, being eaten away by the fuels. So seeing that it had the laser engraved markings on it, I thought that was going to be a good thing for us. So without further ado, let's go ahead and open up the kit, see what this guy comes with, and get started on testing. So first things first, guys, it looks like we got a set of gloves, which is very important. I actually already got my set over here because I knew I was going to be handling with fuels. And it looks like we got some towels here with some more stuff. Yeah, pretty much these are just some towels just to make sure you can clean up if you do drop some fuel. And we got these little droppers here. Pretty much we're going to use these guys to suck out the fuels from the bottles and put it into the last but not least thing, the actual test vial here. So I'll bring the camera closer here when we actually start testing, but what you'll see on this little test kit is that there's 2 main lines, one near the bottom which is marked H2O, which is for the water we're actually going to be using to test out with, and then the second one, which is all the way at the top, is the fuel, which means of course we're going to first fill it up to the first line with water and fill it up the rest of the way with the fuel. So essentially how this test kit works, guys, is the ethanol within these fuels here is actually going to want to blend in with the water that you're going to be using to test with. And when you shake it up and let it sit there for a while, that ethanol water mix will actually separate from the gasoline that's inside the fuel, and there will be a clear division mark between those 2 liquids in there. And where that guy actually sits with these little markings here, which go from 0 to 95, that'll tell you what the ethanol content or the ethanol percentage of that specific fuel is. Alright guys, so I brought the camera a little bit closer so you guys can see the action of the testing up close and personal. And hopefully you guys can see, I'll try to put it on the white background of the paper. But there's the little markings that I was talking about. The one at the bottom right there is the H2O, and up here at the top is the one for the fuel. And of course in between it goes from 0 to 95, which is where we're going to see the content of the gasoline and ethanol split and tell us the percentage. I'm actually going to first test the cheap gasoline that we have in the area, see what the ethanol content within this is comparison to the more expensive gasoline we have in the area, and see if there's really any difference. And then after we test both sets of gasoline that we have over there, we'll test the E85 here to make sure and see if our E85 gas station over here is truly giving us what we want. So I actually went ahead and marked my little droppers here, guys, just so I can make sure I'm minimizing cross-contamination as much as possible. So I'll use this one for the E85 and then this one over here for the gasolines. I didn't have one for the water, which we will have to use right here, but I'm pretty much going to use a straw just to funnel it out from there. And there we go. You guys can see right there, the water's up to the H2O mark. So now time to use the droppers, and we will start with the cheap gasoline like I said before, and we'll fill it up to the fuel line up here at the top. There we go, guys. We got the gasoline filled all the way to the top. So now it's time to put the cap back on. And what we're going to do is we're going to give it a little shake here. You don't have to go too crazy, but just make sure it fully blends in with that water at the bottom. And after giving it a good shake, you'll let it sit there for about a minute or so. It should be good. What I like to do is I'll just kind of like tap the glass just to make sure that the content inside separates. So yeah, we'll go ahead and let this sit here for a little bit. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see. Let me put the paper towel behind, hopefully to make it contrast a little bit better. But right there, there's a little division mark. It's actually filled all the way up. I know it doesn't look like it, but it's filled all the way up. The top portion is the gasoline and the bottom portion is the water and the ethanol that's mixed in with it. And that line there, it's sitting, looks like it's right between 5 and 10, which pretty much means that this cheap gasoline that I have here has an ethanol content of approximately 7%. That's actually good technically, because all gasolines, like I said, actually have ethanol within them. Anything below 10% is acceptable per law and regulations, so that's technically okay. We'll keep that in mind, knowing that the cheap gasoline has that 7% ethanol content. We'll move on to the more expensive gasoline, and we'll redo this test with that one. Alright guys, now for the not cheap gasoline that we have in the area. And one thing I wanted to point out, don't do as I did earlier and not use gloves. Make sure you put your gloves on, because you are dealing with fuels, gasoline and E85. Both are very dangerous, flammable, and can really mess up your hand and your skin. So make sure you put your gloves on. I messed up, but just wanted to point that out. So I went ahead and already put the water in, and we're getting ready to put in the not cheap gasoline. So just like before, I'm gonna go ahead and use the dropper to fill it up to the top line, and we'll shake it up, wait a minute or two, and see what we get. Went ahead and let this guy settle, and surprisingly, let me see it up close at my eye level. You know, it's actually just about the same. It looks almost identical to the other one. Maybe it's at 8%, but nonetheless it's above the 5 and below the 10. So I can honestly say this is a draw between the cheap gasoline and the expensive gasoline. So when it comes to ethanol content, as you can see here, at least in my region, there's really no difference in the type I get or the brand I get. It looks like they both have just about 7 to 8% ethanol in it. But one thing I know now is I can continue to go to that cheaper gasoline location and save some money that way. Alright guys, now for the moment you've been waiting for, and the moment that I've definitely been waiting for, is to see if my local gas station that has flex fuel is truly indeed E85 fuel here. So went ahead and already got it filled up with the water. Now simply time to put in the ethanol. And there we go guys, most of the ethanol has already settled and the gasoline has settled up at the top, and it looks like we are pretty dang good. Right now it looks like it's right in between 80 and 85, which means we are right on, very very close to E85. If I had to make my best guess, I'd call it maybe E83? E83? Yeah, what do you guys think? So now guys that we have all the concentrations figured out, we know exactly how much our gasoline has, which both surprisingly actually had 7%. And of course the E83 that we have here, we can then actually just do the calculation to figure out what we need, how much of each we'll need to create that E30 mix, E50 mix, or in case you're E85, you now know you're at E83. So you can actually find a whole bunch of calculators online. Actually, we'll put a link of the one that I use below. Pretty much since I have a 36-gallon tank in my truck and I need to do an E30 mix, after I plug in the numbers into that little calculator there, telling them that my gasoline has 7%, telling them that my E85 is actually E83. The calculations actually turn out that I need 11 gallons of E83 and then 25 gallons of regular gasoline in order to meet that E30 mix. So with that, guys, I have to say that this video is over. This experiment is a success. We are now armed with the power of knowledge, knowing exactly what type of fuel, exactly what mixture we are having inside our vehicle, which then gives us that peace of mind to know that pretty much once we get that tune in there, we can just go straight gunning it and pushing pedal to the metal and have nothing to worry about theoretically. So make sure you guys stay tuned because we have plenty more videos to come for the truck. I'll go ahead and load up the tune, get everything ready, and we'll probably do some data logs here in the future and see pretty much just how much power this truck actually now has. So as always, guys, if this is your first time at the channel, be sure you hit that subscribe button below and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos that we have for the EcoBeast. But just like that, you're watching Everything Averin. I'll see you on the next one.